Hello, I'm James Wilson.
And I'm Matthew Rowney.
And today on Who Addicts Reviews, we are going to be completing the second part of the second two-parter of Doctor Who Series 9.
Yes, and we're already a third of the way through Series 9. Anyway, it's time to review Episode 4, Before the Flood. And if Series 9 keeps going this quickly, I will be flooding from my eyes with tears.
Yep. Enjoy. I know. Won't be long till hell then. So then guys, in last week's episode of Doctor Who, in Under the Lake, we got one hell of a cliffhanger. We were posed with the ghostly form of the Doctor. The real Doctor and Clara were split up. The Doctor, Bennett and O'Donnell were split up in 1980s before the Drum underwater base was built, and Clara, Cass and Lun were in the underwater base with the ghosts. Now, last week you said that that episode had missed out a little bit of thrill, a little bit of excitement and action. So I think that this episode definitely made up for that.
Yes, it did. By a mile, it was much better. And I think splitting the group into two is the best thing they've done in this two-parter because, and I've got to give credit to Whithouse, because the thing is when you've got two groups separated like this, it's easy for one to fall through the cracks. It's easy for one group to have much more screen time and much more to do than the other. But in this, the balance was perfect. Both stories ran parallel to each other. They integrated really well, and they culminated really well at the end.
Yes.
So yeah, it is difficult.
It was very consistent,
So,
and that's very hard to do when you have two separate groups that need to sort of intermingle and need to, especially when you're playing about with the timey-wimey aspect of the show. If you want to do a timey-wimey story, and not even Moffat can get them right recently, how embarrassing is that for you, Moffat? Toby Whithouse is doing it better than you have in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yes, bow your Scottish head in shame. And bow to the British man that is Toby Whithouse. But anyway, but Toby Whithouse did a brilliant job keeping it consistent with everything that was going on. And but first, talking about the pre-title sequence. Now, that is a very, very boggling pre-title sequence. I didn't get it, the whole Beethoven thing.
I have no idea. I generally don't have a clue what that was about. It's somehow linked in with the very end. I don't quite know how.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a waste of a pre-title sequence for me.
Was.
They could have used it in a much more efficient way, and it felt completely disjointed and out of place for me. I think they could have used it much better. And once the titles were over with, it was just like, oh, that happened? Was that a thing? So yeah, other than giving us probably one of the best theme tunes we've had in recent years,
Yes.
it was baffling.
Yes, definitely. And, I mean, the whole breaking the fourth wall thing, I mean, some movies and TV shows do that right. Like, some fans of Nickelodeon, Ned's Declassified, School Survival Guide, that broke the fourth wall. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Fight Club, those are things where the main character is talking to the camera, talking to the audience and breaking the fourth wall. But with Doctor Who, that just doesn't work.
It's a very risky thing to do because a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people hate that sort of thing. They find it cringy. And with Doctor Who, it felt really out of place.
It did.
And I don't know why they did that.
I mean, it didn't just feel inconsistent with the episode. It felt inconsistent with the show as a whole.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, I'm okay with breaking down barriers because apparently episode 8 or 9 is going to be a found footage episode or something like that. So that's going to break the barriers a little bit with what we're comfortable with what is a good format for a Doctor Who episode. So I'm fine with breaking down barriers with Doctor Who, but breaking the fourth wall, that's a new thing that I don't think they should ever try again.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think
now let's just talk a little bit about the new theme tune. Now, I have not.
When you say new, I hope it is new.
Yes, I hope it's new. I hope it stays for the rest of the series. I don't know whether to think, if they do continue with the theme tune, I'm actually quite upset that they didn't just start it in the first place with The Magician's Apprentice. why they didn't just
Yeah.
start it there, because, you know, the Doctor's whole electric guitar thing, that was a thing then, so back in that episode, so they could have easily done the electric guitar bit in Magician's Apprentice as well, and so, you know, but if they only kept it in once, that'd be even worse.
It'd make it even
You
more
know.
out of place than it already
Yeah,
is.
I mean, a new theme tune just less than halfway through the series. You know, it's kind of a bit bizarre, but still, it's a great theme tune, I think, and I hope they do keep it, because I actually started bopping to the theme tune.
Yeah.
I actually started buzzing over the theme tune. Never before have I started buzzing over the theme tune and singing along to the Doctor Who theme. I've not done that since the Series 4 rendition of the theme tune. So I think that this should definitely stay. Better than the whine, yeah, you know.
I hope it does too, but I've got the worst feeling that it won't, and I don't know why, but like you said, with it being really randomly placed in episode 4, just because the Doctor had a guitar out, it seems it's a bit like the Death in Heaven titles, where just for some really out of place reason, Jenna Coleman got top billing over Peter Capaldi, and her eyes popped up in the credit in the vortex, and I mean, I hated that. I love this. I hated that. But it still just felt completely stupid. It felt as if it was a really. It's like they discussed it in the BBC's offices or something when they were writing it. They thought, "Oh, this is a great idea." It sounded great in their heads. Yeah. And then once it was out, they were kind of like, "Ugh." And it might be a bit like this. They go, "Oh, we'll do this as a one-off," and then they'll realise that people love it, and they're like, "Oh, we maybe should have kept that." Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, oh god. But yes, let's go after the titles, where we joined the Doctor. Bennett was vomiting in the TARDIS, and we got O'Donnell fangirling over the Doctor, and of course, as we know, that she works for UNIT, and as do the rest of the crew, I believe. And so I wish we could have seen possibly futuristic UNIT, because UNIT have changed their name, right? Yeah. So to Unified Intelligence Task Force, I think their next level will be Universal Intelligence Task Force. That would be brilliant. I call it, ladies and gentlemen. BBC, if you want to use that, you've got to contact me.
Yeah.
But yes, you probably want to talk about the references to Rose and previous companions.
Yeah, that was nice. There was little references to Rose, Martha, Amy, and pre-Harold Saxon, which was nice.
And the Minister of War. That's you know, that's a new one.
Lots of people have picked up on that.
Yes.
And I think the BBC are probably going to have to start to think, oh God, people are really catching on with this. We have to make it a thing. Yeah. And I hope that the Minister of War is something that we'll see in the future. Yeah. But before we talk about O'Donnell and her sad demise, let's talk about 12, because I want to say with confidence,
which leads into O'Donnell, really.
Yeah, with 100% confidence, this is his best episode since Mummy on the Orient Express.
Oh, yes.
I will say that with confidence, because we saw a characteristic of 12 that we've not seen, which I would like to have seen more often, which is him willingly knowing and willingly letting someone die in order for him to know more. We saw it in Into the Dalek, we saw it in Mummy a lot, which, you know, it was my favourite episode of Series 8. So, yeah, to see 12 have that characteristic again, it makes me much more reassured about him, because I was getting worried that he was drifting into this bumbly Doctor. Yeah. And there's this rocker Time Lord that I'm not a fan of. But in this, we got to see the rebel Time Lord. Yeah. This is what he was promoted as, the rebel Time Lord that goes against the rules. And when we saw 12, basically, once he realised that Clara was next on the list, he said, right, that's it, I'm changing time. Yeah. I'm doing what I like. And that was so much like The Waters of Mars, which you guys will know is one of my favourites, possibly my favourite ever. So to see 12 do that for me was just great. It made me so happy. Yeah,
it did. I mean, seriously. And I think 12 was absolutely amazing in this episode, and like you said, it's his best performance yet. Now moving on to
the scene with the Fisher King.
Oh my god, yes. I just want to talk a little thing that annoyed me, which is about the marketing of the Fisher King. In the episode, he came out of the shadows, and it was like some sort of it's like Toby Whithouse or the director intended for it to be some sort of big build-up, to find out what the Fisher King looked like, but he was revealed in next time trailers and promotional images and stuff like that. So I think the marketing and the directing team really need to work together sometimes, because it's like they do what they want. Yeah. It's like the director's like, I want this, I want the Fisher King to be some big reveal. The marketing's like, Yeah, Fisher King. There you go.
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
So that annoyed me a little bit.
It's tough because what they need to do in trailers is show what villains are coming up in the series. But of course, that takes away from any reveal because we've seen them already. So it's a fine line between a good reveal but also actually marketing the series and letting people know what's actually going to be there. So
Yeah.
it's a tough one, because and they've made this mistake a few times actually, because we've seen in many Next Time trailers where the Doctor's been in this impossible situation. How's he going to escape?
Yeah.
And then in the Next Time trailer, he's running about, oh, he's alive.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that cliffhanger's pointless.
Yeah.
And an example of how to do it right was with the Witch's Familiar Next Time trailer, because Clara and Missy were exterminated, with quotation marks, and in that Next Time trailer, they were nowhere to be seen.
Yes.
That's how you do it. So yeah, the build-up was directed really well, and I can imagine, for anyone who'd not seen him in any trailers, it would have been incredible.
For anyone who's avoided any marketing.
But I can see what you mean, yeah. We all kind of knew what he looked like, so we were all just kind of saying, just come on, get him out.
Yeah.
Let's see him in action.
Yeah, and we kind of, and I think we've all seen the early first Series 9 trailer, and he appeared in that, so I really don't think anyone didn't know what he looked like.
Yeah.
But the Fisher King, if we're still staying on that subject, he was voiced, well, he had two voices actually, the Fisher King did. Slipknot frontman, Corey Taylor, played the scream of the scream alone, not his voice, but the scream alone of the Fisher King, his screaming vocal cords that we all know if you guys listen to Slipknot. Slipknot is a very good band. And I personally, Matthew personally isn't a fan of heavy metal.
No.
I know, but I am a big fan of Slipknot, and just to see Corey Taylor and that video where he was in the TARDIS and fanboying over it, I was like, oh my god, Slipknot is a fanboy. So it made me love Slipknot even more. But I've forgotten the name of the main voice of the Fisher King, the speaking voice of him. It's very deep and brooding, and his name is Peter Unpronounceable second name. Let's just call him that.
That's a good surname.
Yes.
Unpronounceable second
Yes,
name.
let's just call him that. Peter Unpronounceable second name. Peter Saranowitz or something like that. I don't know. Saranowickus. It ends with CZ, I know that much. God, these actors' names, it's worse than Benedict Cucumber Patch. But anyway, but anyway, so the speaking voice of this guy, I've seen him in a few things. He was the prick of Sean from Shaun of the Dead. It was his flatmate, not Nick Frost, the other one, if you recall him.
I don't remember.
No, but if anyone frequently watches Shaun of the Dead, then he was the guy, the flatmate who eventually turned into a zombie. Anyway, but he has a very deep, brooding voice and everything. So that was the Fisher King. The Fisher King as a character was underused, really.
Yeah.
But the design of the design of the villain, the voice, both the voices are just both amazing.
Yeah.
I just wish he had more screen time.
It's a shame because it seemed like they've put so much effort into the Fisher King, which is good to see the effort putting in. He looked incredible. The best villain that we've seen probably visually since the Teller.
Yeah.
He looked fantastic, sounded incredible, and just on screen was very threatening.
Yeah.
And I think he did have very, very little screen time, which is a shame, and I do hope that they bring him back in some form. I don't want this to be a one-off villain, because I really like the Fisher King. And talking of what I like the most is that we saw death.
Yes.
The Fisher King willingly killed O'Donnell, and it wasn't one of these timey-wimey deaths, which Moffat does, where the character's always bound to come back because Moffat never kills anybody.
No.
It was a legitimate death.
Yes.
Finito, done, and that is so refreshing.
It is. To see a villain just straight up kill a woman. You look very innocent. You look actually very nice, very canny. You look like you should probably survive. Nope. Boom!
Dead.
It was dead, honestly. And some fault is on the Doctor's part, really, because the Doctor was using O'Donnell as a way of sort of trying to work out a theory, clarify because his ghost self was reading out a bunch of names that the Doctor suspected at the time was a list of people that were in the order of who was going to die, and so the Doctor, in an attempt of trying to change the past, change the future, he had sacrificed O'Donnell's life, and that was a very dark, twisted thing for him to do because O'Donnell was fangirl. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, it breaks me.
It is.
It breaks me. Now listen to me, right? Stephen Moffat and Steve Thompson.
Here we go.
Right? This is what
Basically,
happens.
the three head writers of Sherlock.
Exactly.
Steve Thompson, Stephen Moffat, Mark Gatiss. Take it away.
Here is what happens. This is what happens when you give Toby freaking Whithouse a two-parter to write, because you get an actually fleshed out story with likeable supporting characters that when they finally do clock it, and Moffat, you actually won't kill off anyone, so there you go. When someone actually does die, we care. That's what Russell did. This is what Toby Whithouse is doing. I'm just saying, hashtag Toby Whithouse for a new head writer.
I'm starting to really like that idea.
Yes.
But yeah,
I'm still keen on Nick Briggs.
For a narrative point of view, from a narrative's perspective, it is so great to see the most likeable character get killed off, because that's the formula, that's the way to do it. You kill off the character that the fans like the most. But as a fan's point of view, it was freaking horrible to see.
Yeah.
Because O'Donnell was a lovely character who, for me, I think was probably my favourite of the lot. So to see my favourite die, I think it worked really well.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to do more often. And that is why they should make more two-parters, because we saw it with Last Christmas is one hell of an example of why a group, it's hard to make them work and hard to make them likeable in a one-part story. But with a two-parter, they can be developed much more, given much more screen time, and to the point where I felt for every single one of them.
Yeah.
So to see O'Donnell, in the most tragic way, just get killed in Bennett's arms as well.
Yeah, and you felt for Bennett. You really did, because Bennett never got to proclaim his love for O'Donnell, and the Doctor, both the Doctor and the Fisher King, really sort of, you know,
I think they had just as much responsibility.
Yeah, and I think so, and the fact that the Doctor let the woman who was like really fangirling over him, you know, and that's what hurt me the most. You know, it's the fact that, you know, like on her first trip out with the Doctor, she's dead.
That's,
you know, that is. I mean, I know that's the Doctor in a nutshell. You know, being with the Doctor in a nutshell, but it killed me. It really did, because I was just like, no, not O'Donnell.
This is what I wanted.
Yes,
I wanted 12 to be like this dark, and I wanted a character to get killed off. It's what I've wanted for ages. So yeah, talking about the group. We spoke about Bennett, loved Bennett. It's just, you know, I felt so sorry for him with O'Donnell as well.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the other three, which consisted of Clara, Lunn and Cass. Let's talk about Clara. Again, with confidence, I will say this is probably her best episode of Series 9.
Yes, certainly.
Because we got to see, for the first time, a running theme that we saw in Series 8. We finally got to see her obsession once again with the Doctor.
Yes, definitely. I mean, that phone call with the Doctor in the TARDIS when the Doctor is saying that he has to die because this is a future that is now set and has to happen. We've seen this many times throughout many different Doctor Who plots, and to see this and Clara was very selfish in this take as well, which just showcases where she's actually came in her time in the TARDIS. You know, if you compare Clara Oswald with the 11th Doctor to Clara Oswald in Series 9, you know, there's a massive contrast. The 11th Doctor is her knight in shine, in her knight in bumbling armour, and you know, is just, you know, makes her smile all the time, and the 12th Doctor is sort of hardened Clara in a way, really made her stone cold. You know, and how she said, you've made me essential to you. You've made, you know, that was a really great line as well. You owe me. You've made me essential. You've made yourself essential to her. And I think that was a really great line, a really beautiful scene between the both of them, and that was just amazing. It really was. It's
a running theme that we've wanted, because we've always said that this is probably, you know, hinting at Clara's demise. It's eventually her obsession is going to get the better of her, and she's going to cross the line, and it's maybe going to ultimately end with her death, which I personally like. And let's get Whithouse writing it, because if Moffat writes it, she ain't going to die. Whithouse writes it, she probably will. So I think it was a great scene, and it's a scene that Clara needed. But other than that, she had a lot to do as well. Because there is a scene, and I want to hug the director, Daniel O'Hara. the scene when Clara and Cass both leave the chamber to go and see where Lun is, and Clara is going down the corridor, and the camera zooms in, and the music gets more tense, and you think there's someone behind her.
Yeah.
And she turns around and there's no one there, and you're like, thank God,
Yeah.
the danger is over. And then there's that scene with Cass.
Oh my God! I mean, seriously, Daniel O'Hara, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, I really do.
Give him a nod.
I really do applaud this man, because what one hell of a piece of direction. Great music throughout. I mean, seriously, just everything is amazing. Moran's ghost is dragging an axe behind her back. Reminds me of The Shining.
It did.
Oh
this
my
would have
God.
worked in a horror movie.
It really would have. And Cass, of course, being deaf, she couldn't hear the axe dragging behind her, and I was literally on the edge of my seat, biting my nails, just going, "Oh my God, Cass, turn around!"
I loved how it swapped from the sound, like when it was showing Moran and it showed the sound of it, and it swapped to Cass and it was just silence.
Yeah.
And you were just like, he's behind you.
Yeah.
Like we could see him behind him, and like, turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God! I mean, see, again, goes back to what we were saying. This is what happens when you have a character that you care about.
And I loved how they used her senses.
Yes,
too.
exactly. Yes, touching the vibrations of the floor to feel and actually see what it was that was dragging behind her, and then she jumps out just in time, and I think that was a really brilliant piece of direction, great piece of acting from the actress who played Cass, and it was
Sophia Stone.
I'm not too sure.
Sophia Stone.
I really don't know.
I think so.
But yeah, an absolutely amazing scene. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the paradox thing. The Doctor going back half an hour back into his own time stream. The TARDIS not wanting to go back to the base, and stuff like that. Did you find any point in that? Because I was... I don't know. I felt like Toby Whithouse maybe had a brain fart there, and he was just like, I don't know what to write here.
I think they used it as a roadblock. It was like the Doctor could have easily just went back.
Yeah.
Easy done.
Yeah.
And I think they used it as a big hurdle. The TARDIS doesn't want to go back. But it makes sense in a way, because we saw at the very beginning of Under the Lake, the TARDIS did not like that underwater base.
Yeah.
We don't really know why, but it seems like the TARDIS just doesn't want to go there.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked, yeah. But I can see it. I think it was just a roadblock to prolong the story a bit.
Yeah.
And obviously lead into the Doctor having to pretty much. Basically, because we saw obviously his ghost ripped his, so it was the Doctor was in a race against time, because he had to save himself and save Clara.
Yeah.
He was in a race between the two, so it worked. I think it takes a bit to get your head around, but the Doctor was in a race against time.
Yeah, I get that now.
It worked.
Yeah, I was a bit confused about that, so thank you for clarifying.
It's a bit like with the Waters of Mars.
10
10 could have left easily, and not changed time, but 12 was in the same position pretty much.
Yeah.
He had to stay behind because he had to save them somehow.
Yeah.
So I liked it. Yeah. The ghosts again goes without saying really.
Yeah.
They were great in this too.
They were really, really good. Yes, definitely. And I think that they were they gained a lot more menace, knowing that the Doctor wasn't there either, to help them out and stuff. And like in Flatline, Clara needed to have an automatic sense of leadership among that. And again, I guess you could call that a positive, on top of the negatives of being with the Doctor. Being with the Doctor can harden you in a bad way, and it can harden you in a good way, which makes you more prone to leadership and stuff like that. So I think that's really, really good as well.
Yeah, it was clever by Whithouse. In a way, if you think about it, it's really clever how he did it. So we've ticked off 12, Clara, the group, the ghosts,
Fisher King.
The story is, I think we've just got the ending.
Yes, and the ending I thought was really, really good. The way it was resolved I thought was incredibly clever. The Doctor using the missing power cell, and using the events that we'd already known about in Under the Lake.
This is how you do it.
Yes, this is how you do it, Stephen Moffat. Your trademark was previously all these timey-wimey things and then brilliantly woving them together again. And you did that in 45 minutes with Blink. What happened? Toby Whithouse is now what you were in 2007. Come on! Bloody hell!
Come on, Moffat.
Come on! Jeez.
We want the old Moffat.
Yes, we do. Toby Whithouse is now the old Moffat. God.
Which in turn will make him head writer.
Yes.
Yes, it will.
But what if Toby Whithouse becomes bad as head writer? Oh God, no!
This is timey-wimey in itself.
Yes, it is.
But yeah,
the missing power cell was used, and so the Doctor had pulled the wool over the Fisher King's eyes, and it
Tricked
was
him,
tricked him, and it was brilliant. Tricked the Fisher King, and the Fisher King was then flooded. And I got to admit, the CGI was rather terrible when the Fisher King was swept away by the waves. That was CGI.
I think for the standards we've had in the last couple of episodes, it's good.
Okay. Yeah.
Think of the Cybermen.
Yeah. Okay.
Mrs. Umbrella.
It's okay, all right. It's Avatar style, brilliant
fantastic.
animation, but yeah, it is. I thought that was really good. The Doctor hiding inside the stasis chamber. We called that.
Yeah, called it in the preview.
We called it in the preview, and I'm so glad we did. So that was really, really clever. But of course, the return of the Sonic Shades. Not going to go into that, are we?
I will be doing that later this week. But what I will say, as much as I don't like them, and I will talk about that later this week. I don't know, Thursday. I'll say Thursday, or maybe Friday. I'll admit they were used well. I don't know how sticking the side of the sunglasses into a thing works. I don't know.
It was technically like a mic or a USB.
Yeah, it's like a USB lead for sunglasses. But yeah, using the hologram, which again was used in Under the Lake. Whithouse is so clever with taking things from the past and using them again.
Yeah.
It's so clever. Using a hologram to trick the ghost into being stuck in that chamber. Well done, Whithouse. Yeah. It's refreshing to see a two-parter that is paced so well and not rushed at the end.
Yeah.
It was legitimately ended
really well. It was. And I've got to admit, one beautiful heartwarming moment, the little romance between Cass and Glun at the end. That was lovely. I really loved that.
I loved what Bennett said.
Yeah, when Bennett just came out with that, and could you translate something to Cass for me and just said, tell her you're in love with her and you always have been. That was a lovely moment. Yeah, that was a lovely, lovely moment, and that was Bennett using his loss, not in a spiteful way or not in a horrible way, but using it so that two other colleagues of his can be happy. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing. Oh my God, the one character we've completely forgotten about, and he was probably more underused than the Fisher King was. Paul Kay's Prentice.
Yes.
The Morley guy.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. The Tivoli Undertaker. I can't believe this guy was just incredibly underused. At the end of it, I didn't really see what the point in him was.
Yeah.
He was just pointless in this episode.
He was responsible for having the Fisher King in a hearse, which, you know what, I've got this really dangerous being in the back of my hearse. What I'll do is I'll open the door and leave it open.
Yeah.
I know Tivolis are stupid and it kind of works.
Yeah.
But a Tivoli Undertaker, really?
Yeah.
How's that ever going to work?
I don't know.
They lay down and take in slavery.
Yeah.
Why would they be Undertakers? But yeah, he was, considering how
he was quite entertaining.
He looked
I've
so
got to
menacing
say.
as the ghost, but yet so bumbly as...
Yeah. I'm sorry, but when he was giving the Doctor and Bennett and O'Donnell his business cards and just going, Prentice, funeral director. It's just, he had that little mousy little act that he had going on, and Paul Kay was just amazing at that.
Yeah,
and
he
he was actually really entertaining. So
it was the humorous side.
It was. So Matthew, you may start off with the
You're
conclusion.
going first, aren't you?
Am I?
Who went first last week?
I don't know. Should I really start rewatching our reviews this time?
I'll let you go first.
Right, okay, thank you, very kind. So, this is what happens when you give Toby frickin' Whithouse a two-parter. You get a likeable supporting characters, solutions to the problem without it being a cop-out. Are you hearing this, Steve Thompson? Before the Flood may have felt like a separate story at times, but the way the episode was structured didn't make the underwater base or the ghosts feel underplayed. The Doctor and Bennett going back into their own time stream didn't seem to give any purpose to the story, which has now been clarified, so I'll write that out, scratch that out. But the Fisher King was brilliant and menacing. Although it was a limited appearance, I still enjoyed it. A lot of powerful moments too that only Toby frickin' Whithouse can deliver. As a two-parter, I give this story a 9 out of 10. As a separate episode, I give this an 8 out of 10.
An 8? Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. That's a bit lower than I thought. Before the Flood was a much better second part to this two-parter. Toby Whithouse has delivered with possibly his best script in Doctor Who. The acting from all involved, along with the amazing direction from Daniel O'Hara, who should be knighted, was great. It's the best direction we've had in a very long time. The score from Murray Gold also worked really well alongside the episode. 12 was at his best here and had his best episode since Mummy, and Clara had her best of the series. The ghosts were really creepy and scary, and the Fisher King was incredibly scary, but as you said, was a little bit underused.
Yes.
Apart from killing O'Donnell, which was refreshing. I just wish he had a bit more screen time. The side cast went from an okay group to one of the best, as they all played their part and were developed really well. The ending was really well done, which was refreshing because it feels like an eternity since a two-parter was concluded in a great way. And importantly, after last week, the pacing was actually perfect this week. Overall, apart from a few small niggles like the pre-title sequence and maybe the Fisher King having a little bit less screen time than I'd hoped, this episode was near perfect. It had all the components for an all-round brilliant Doctor Who episode, which it delivered. A great mix of time travel, horror and sci-fi. It's the best episode this series so far.
Wow.
I will go that far. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
And I'm going to give the overall two-parter an 8.5. So a bit lower than you overall.
Yes.
Maybe because of Under the Lake, but
I thought you were going to go for an 8.4 there, but
no,
there you go.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, an 8.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you give it an 8.
No, well, it's, I felt like...
Because it's Toby
frickin'
Whithouse.
It's Toby frickin' Whithouse. I was close to giving it a 10. I was close to screwing up the whole scoring system altogether and going an infinity. I was close to scoring it that, but no, as a two-parter, I feel like this has strengthened. I mean, I enjoyed Under the Lake a bit more than you did. It's just as a two-parter, I feel like this really, really came together nicely. So as a two-part story as a whole, I loved it. It doesn't mean to say that I didn't love. I mean, it's only one score lower than I did with a separate episode, but I just think as a two-parter, it worked so brilliantly.
Do you think now you like the paradox idea a lot more, that maybe on a rewatch your rating would be a bit higher, maybe?
Yes, definitely. I think my rating would be a bit higher. I'd probably go for an 8.5 out of 10, probably.
Fair enough, yeah. I just think, other than the titles and the Fisher King, I cannot pick a fault with this episode. It was truly amazing.
It was.
It just, from start to finish, there was not one single second where I was out of this episode.
Yeah.
At all. So, yeah, this is proof that Toby Whithouse should write more two-parters.
Yes, it should.
And I'm starting to like the idea of him being the next head writer.
Yes,
more
exactly.
and more.
I love the idea of Nick Briggs, but there you go. Hashtag Toby Whithouse for new head writer.
Yes.
Let's begin that hashtag, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Toby frickin' Whithouse. So then, guys, we hope you enjoyed our review of Before the Flood. Please like this video, subscribe to Heretics Reviews for some more great content. You're literally just thinking of what we say in your head now, aren't we? Yeah. For some more great content on Doctor Who Series 9, please comment in the section below what you guys think about the episode Before the Flood, and as a two-parter in general.
And visit our website, which is at the bottom of your screen. There you can find links to Facebook and Twitter to follow us on our social networking site, because that is the perfect place to get exclusive content every week.
Yes, and so we will see you guys on Wednesday, where we will be previewing the girl who died, right?
The girl who died.
Yeah,
it's been very easy. I mean, there's The Magician's Familiar, The Witch's Apprentice, Under the Flood, Before the Lake, and The Girl Who Lived, and The Woman Who Died. And then there's Invasion of the Zygons, and Zygons of the Invasion, Hell Sent, Heaven Bent, I don't know where I am. See you on Wednesday.
Heaven Bent.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Oh.
I worry.
So do I.